I'm so sorry, but no amount of money could make me hang out with an ugly dude. Like, I'm walking down the street in Miami. This is like the street in Brickell where you always see an ugly, ugly ass dude with the hottest girl on his arm. And I'm just sitting here and I'm thinking, money's not that hard to make. It's not. You don't have to hang around ugly men if you want money.
Right.
You know, I think it's safe to say that when a woman is referring to an ugly man, she's referring to one of two people. Now, the first one, it revolves around the basic laws of Chadnomics. This guy is not objectively ugly, she's just jealous. She sees a man that she finds aesthetically attractive with a woman who's younger and more attractive than her, and then she immediately deems him as ugly just so she can make herself feel better. The other scenario is that you have an average looking guy with a hot woman, which means that, yeah, he has money, she's interested in his money, and he's fine with the transaction. And if that's the case, then woman, it is purely none of your business because, yes, in your regard, there is easy ways to make money. Either mooching off a Chad or earning said money while lying on your back for an OnlyFreaks account. Either way, both reactions stem from an insane amount of jealousy because you have no man and you're getting older, so pretty much you lash out at the world instead of accepting that maybe, just maybe, you made some pretty poor life decisions and you can't accept the consequences of your actions, or lack thereof in this case.
Also, what do you think is gonna happen as soon as you get older? He's gonna get a new one. It's not even smart money. You're not. These girls always act like they're cheat coding life. Cheat code, okay. You sacrificed your happiness for a handbag? For a piece of leather? That's probably fake anyways. I don't know, it's just actually so insane to me. You actually could never pay me for that to be my lifestyle because it's literally so much easier to just make it yourself, get your own self the handbag, and then you can date literally whoever you want.
You go, girl! You get it, girl! You hear that? You got it, girl!
Does anybody else find it rather sad that modern women think they need cheat codes in order to find a guy? Lady, you're a woman. You pretty much have the pick of the litter when it comes to men. Well, at least for the first couple of years in your 20s, and then that statistic goes really bad real quickly. Now, I find it awfully interesting that you just immediately assume that these women are selling their bodies to these men in exchange for goods, which is entirely possible nowadays. However, you are completely glossing over the fact that maybe she's actually content with a life with this guy. You don't know anything about their story, you don't care to know. You just want to immediately assume that these women are cheap, which, if we're talking about women in Miami, that's probably not too far from the truth. But if a woman wants to get with a rich man who has no problem buying her a designer handbag, well then I fail to see how that's any of your business, because let's be real here, you don't care about these women, you will never care about these women, and you're just jealous over the fact that they found a cheat code to be able to get a designer handbag without paying for it, while you're still working like a frickin' schnook.
Yeah, that checks out. That sounds about right.
Dude, boyfriends, or just even men in general, are so fucking dumb. No common sense. First of all, he comes over, my motherfucking boyfriend. He comes over, okay? He's hungry. He's hungry. So he grabs my favorite cheese spread that I just got from Trader Joe's and a thing of chips, pita chips. And while I'm eating my breakfast, he's sitting there munching away. Okay, keep in mind, I just got it. I just got the cheese. How many times have I gone in to enjoy the cheese? Once. One time. One fucking time. He's eating it, right? I don't even think anything of it, okay? Says something so quietly, and he's like, oh yeah, you need to get more of this cheese, it's so good. Okay, I'm like, yeah, I do. I mean, I just got that one, so I don't really need to get it anytime soon. So then he leaves, okay? He's gone, he's at home. He put the fucking cheese back in the fridge, went home, okay? Tell me why. Nope, if you see my foot right now, it's tapping. Tell me why I go, and I'm like, ooh, that cheese sounds so fucking good. My foot's still tapping. I go and get my pita chips. I walk to the fridge and I see the cheese, and I'm like, okay, bet. I grab it and I'm like, oh, it's a little light.
Well, what did the police say?
Okay, woman, I'm just gonna stop you right there for just a second, because if the worst thing that ever happens to you with your relationship is your guy eating too much of your favorite cheese spread, then you've got it pretty good. You're standing there ranting and raving and throwing a hissy fit and swearing up a storm over cheese dip. Now, don't get me wrong, I get it to a certain degree. We all have our things we like, and we don't like it when people actually consume it before we have a chance to enjoy it. but it's been known to happen. It's inconvenient, but I don't use it as a representation to blame an entire gender of people over my mild inconvenience. Is it rude? Yeah, a little bit. Is it presumptuous? Of course. But it is not a means to actually go on TikTok to freaking throw a temper tantrum and to make an ass out of myself. But to be fair, I'm not a modern woman. I lack the plumbing and I have way too much dignity to sink that low in status. And if I ever do feel compelled to complain on TikTok over something, you can rest assured it's not going to be something as mild as freaking cheese dip. Unless it's an apocalypse brought forth by cheese dip, and if that's the case, then that's just based off the wisdom of the intergalactic space god Zibbly Goobakar. All hail.
Are you fucking kidding me? I sat there in awe. I sat there with my mouth like, I called this motherfucker. I said, dude, first of all, who the puts back an empty container of my favorite cheese back in the fridge? Throw that shit away. Second of all, how are you gonna eat the whole thing? I just got it. And keep in mind, he did the same exact thing to the same exact cheese the other time I got it. I had to go back to the store to get another one because he ate it all. I said, who the does this? No, who the actual does that to someone? Who the that was mean. That's so mean. And he's like, there's some cheese left. Motherfucker, where? That's not even enough for one chip. Are you,
Give me cancer now, guy.
Okay, lady, you've either been locked up in a basement for the first 18 years of your life, or you have zero experience with men whatsoever, because that's actually fairly common. When it comes to guys in a dip or any type of sauce that they really like, yeah, they're going to leave the dregs in the fridge. It's something that we just do because whenever we want the last of it, we can always just scrape it off with a chip or a spoon or something, and then once the container is completely empty, then and only then will we throw the container out. Yeah, it's just a weird thing. It's been happening for centuries. And I get your frustration. No, sincerely, I really do. But even when the dip is the highest of possible quality, I can't really imagine that requiring calling the person who consumes said dip a mother effer. The only way that's actually considered acceptable is based off the 90s Sam Jackson principle, in which you actually have to sound really freaking cool when you say it. Then you can drop mother F-bombs all you want. But lady, you don't sound cool when you say it. You just sound like a spoiled brat. So really, just cool it on the language, will ya?
like, I don't get it. He's like, sorry. No. No. Like, are you dumb? No, like, genuinely, like, are you dumb? Now I have no cheese to eat with my chips.
Oh, poor you.
Woman, are you serious right now? Are you seriously about to cry? There is no crying in chip dip because there's no point. It's a processed dip that you can easily obtain more of. Now, if this is something that's happened before, this could easily be resolved with a conversation, but you're too busy ranting and raving and making an ass out of yourself online to care. Now, once again, it is kind of a douche thing to do, and that guy is now under an obligation to replace the dip, which is something that he would most likely be willing to do if you had a conversation with him instead of chewing him out like a spoiled brat. You clearly lead a life of shelter and privilege because, well, let's face it, your kitchen is bigger than my entire apartment. So you live your life without any major catastrophic things ever happening to you. And sister, I gotta let you know, you are in for a rough ride once you find out about adulthood and the glory of the legalized theft known as taxes. I personally can't wait for that unhinged rant, and I'll make sure to have my abundant amount of cheese dip and pita chips at the ready for my snack as I watch you melt down over that particular subject. Should be fun. I want to take a moment and give recognition to the members of the Bounty Board over on Patreon whose continued support is helping to keep this channel going during the seemingly endless and unrelenting reign of terror known as the YouTube shadow banning. Gentlemen and gents, your support means the world to me, and I sincerely am thankful for your generosity. Thank you so much. All hail. And if you're interested in supporting the channel, check out the Bounty Board over on Patreon, where $5 a month gets you access to exclusive content you're not going to find on this channel. The link is in the pinned comment down below.
If you've ever wondered why so many men seem to hate women with OnlyFans account despite being the consumer that creates the demand for that product in the first place, I'm going to make it real simple for you. And it's not about the content itself. These men do not care about the nudity or the sexual acts themselves, because a dizzying amount of these men will ask a woman for nude pictures, and if she responds that she has an OnlyFans account and he can go subscribe if he wants to see that, then he starts screaming about how she's a whore and she's a disgrace and her parents must hate her for doing the exact same thing that he wanted her to do for free 3 minutes ago. What they can't stomach is the exchange of power that OnlyFans represents. The fact that the man pays money and the woman benefits financially from the transaction.
Ooh, yeah. I'm gonna have to go ahead and sort of disagree with you there.
I know it's rare for me to cover dudes on this channel, but I came across this video and I just couldn't help it. It's actually hilarious to see a massive bearded simp try to act like he's a man's man with some form of wisdom. This has nothing to do with power and a lot more to do with respect. Now, I'm personally against the practice of sending nudes to people because that's just asking for trouble. But a guy asking for free skin pics from a girl he likes is significantly different than a woman who sells her body to the entire planet. This has nothing to do with power or the jealousy of a modern woman making money through this practice. The issue here is that she has zero respect for herself or zero respect for the people around her by doing it. This has been the norm that has been established since the dawn of civilization. Men do not get with spice miners. So the very second that he finds out that he's with a woman who's willing to sacrifice her dignity as well as her privacy of herself, her family, and the people in her life, then yeah, it's kind of a turnoff.
They hate hoes, but they don't hate pimps, because they identify with the pimps. They hate the idea of a woman sleeping with a man to get a promotion, but they don't hate the idea of a man withholding a promotion until a woman sleeps with him, because they identify with that man. It's all about the exchange of power, because if you have to pay to see a woman naked, it means you're not entitled to it. And at the core of this mentality is a belief that women's sexual agency does not belong to them and is not theirs to exercise in whatever way they choose. It belongs to the father until she meets a nice man that he approves of, and then there's a transfer of ownership of her sexual agency from father to husband. That's why you'll see so many men in these comment sections on videos like that saying that if it was their daughter with the OnlyFans account, she would be physically abused, psychologically abused, alienated, disowned, kicked out onto the street. And they will claim that it's out of love and concern for her as her father that they would do something like that.
Wrong! Whoa, slow down there, Simps McGee. We've got a lot to cover here. So, most self-respecting men have zero respect for pimps, but we don't really speak ill of the pimps because at the end of the day, it's the woman who makes the active decision to go up to that pimp and apply for a job. Pimps are scum of the earth and they'll go to hell, but we're not gonna blame them for the women who were drawn to the appeal of making a boatload of money for creating spicy content. So it has less to do with the pimp so much as the woman who went to the pimp and decided to exchange her soul for easy money. As for fathers, well, imagine this situation. You have a daughter and you worked tirelessly to provide for her. You protected her and tried to instill your values onto her, and she turned around and sold her dignity, shamed her family, as well as embarrassed him to the entire community because she started making spicy content. And when you actually take that scenario into account, the father is going to cut her out of his life, not because of control, but honestly because she embarrassed him and he's ashamed of himself.
But I'm having a tough time seeing that, since in every single way, physically, emotionally, psychologically, all of those things do far more harm than her simply having an OnlyFans account that she makes money off of. So it's not about her at all. It's about them being terrified as being seen as less of a man by other men. They're worried about how it reflects on them that their daughter exercises her own sexual agency in whatever way she chooses, because they're looking at it like, dude, that's authority over a woman's sexual agency on easy mode. That's your daughter. You raised her. If you can't get her to do whatever the f you want, whenever the f you want, how are you ever going to control another woman?
Boy, there's no real easy way to say this, but, look, you're a simp.
I gotta hand it to you, Homer Simpson. You are the gift that just keeps on giving. It is astounding how you're able to make yourself more and more wrong with every single sentence. It really is quite fascinating. It's a historical and biological fact. Men are not attracted to women who sell their bodies in exchange for money. This is why men find high body counts and professional spice content creation to be incredibly unattractive. How can a man actually want to share his life with a woman who clearly has no respect for herself, no respect for her family, and no respect for the privacy of the people around her? Now, if a woman wants to go out and express her sexual freedom, that's her business and her choice, but that doesn't mean that she's free from consequence. You cannot blame men for not wanting to be with a woman when she threw her life away. That's not how it works, dude. All this argument of yours is done is proof that even when you're big, burly, with a deep voice and a beard, you can still be a massive simp.
Pathetic.
If you think you're having a bad day, this is the current state of the apartment that I have had for the last 3 years of my life. I foolishly and fucking stupidly decided to have my now ex-boyfriend sign a lease with me until August of 2025, and he broke up with me out of fucking nowhere tonight.
All right.
You know, it's kind of tough for me to actually make a judgment call on this one, so I'm just gonna have to use some deductive reasoning and some incredibly blind assumptions to try to figure out what's going on here. Now, here we have a modern woman with 2 different hair colors, both of which are most likely unnatural, as well as gaudy rings and a Peggy Bundy shirt. So I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say if that guy broke up with you, I assure you, sister, it wasn't out of freaking nowhere. He's been planning it for a while. Moving forward with the blind assumption, it's a known fact that you really don't know somebody until you live with them for a while. People might seem cool on the surface, but then when you're forced to share a living space with them, that can all go out the window. Ask any man who's moved in with a woman and he'll tell you it changes everything. Sometimes it's for better, and sometimes it's for worse, and in your case, it's clearly the latter. We've all seen it happen before. In fact, there's plenty of men out there who have their own horror stories about moving in with their girlfriends. If you have one, feel free to leave it in the comment section down below.
And now I'm in the middle of going to school, and I had a partner that I was depending on paying 50% of the rent with. So now I have to give up my apartment to him. And uproot my entire life. So, I'm now going to be 31 years old. And I'm moving back in with my parents.
And
Now, I don't know anything about this woman's comment history, but you know what's kind of funny here? Modern women love to shame men in their 30s for living with their parents, and yet when it happens to her, she's worthy of oodles of sympathy. Now, I'm not about to shame this woman from having to move back in with their parents. It's all too common nowadays for anybody, regardless if they're a man or a woman. I just find it incredibly interesting that she's crying about this and asking for sympathy from the internet, but if a man does the same thing, well, then he's called the lazy bum who just wants to live in their basement and play video games all day. But I'm curious, you're covering 50% of the rent with this guy, and yet he still makes enough money to be able to cover 100% of the rent even when you're not there. You're also going back to school, which could mean 1.5 million different things, but judging from your hairstyle, I'm going to assume it's probably not something for STEM. And you're ugly crying on the internet over something not going your way, so I'm more inclined to not make a stop at Sympathy Town for you, sister.
I am so fucking sick of this. Like, I genuinely mean this. I am never dating again. I don't think I can physically do this anymore. So, if you think you're having a bad day,
that's not my problem. It's yours.
You know, somewhere on this earth right now, someone is getting diagnosed with terminal cancer and they only have a short period of time left in their lives. Other people are going through a traumatic experience after getting relentlessly mugged. Other people have been laid off from their jobs and they have no other real career prospects. There are men who have had their lives ruined thanks to a modern woman falsely accusing him of being an inhuman monster. Not to mention the slew of parents out there who have been denied custody of their children thanks to a no-fault divorce. But I guess those aren't bad days because they're not getting kicked out of their apartment from a boyfriend who got sick of them. So yeah, your life is truly terrible, sweetheart. I mean, I understand this is the worst thing that's ever happened to you, but you're acting like this is the worst thing to happen to anybody in the history of humans. You're going through a breakup. They happen every freaking day. What you're supposed to do is deal with it in a calm and mature manner and not post yourself bitching about it on TikTok. I mean, come on, woman, lighten up. It's not like your boyfriend stole your cheese dip or something. And that's gonna do it for today's video, gentlemen and gents. And as always, if you find that my particular brand of comedy is bringing you to the brink of laughter, then why don't you scroll on down and click that like and subscribe button. Ring the notification bell, leave a couple of comments, and make sure to share this video so we can give the good old-fashioned middle finger to the YouTube algorithm. Thank you once again for checking out the new video, gentlemen and gents, and until next time, peace out, homies.